What's up, guys? Welcome to On the Block, Thursday, August 27th. Igor Henriquez, Joe Fafari. Obviously, some things had transpired yesterday with the NBA canceling all of their games. Hockey has now followed with that as well, due to the recent shooting. I don't recall his name. Jacob Blake. Another tragedy in the States. But they said that they are playing the rest of the season. They're going to the rest of the postseason. They said that games tomorrow will resume.
That seems to be the case. That it was reported earlier, I think last night, that the Lakers and Clippers weren't going to play, but it looks like
they were the only team I heard, right?
Yeah, and it looks like they've kind of changed that tune, and that everybody will start playing again this weekend. Again, it's one of those situations where you try to see what the players are thinking, trying to send a message. I think a lot of just looking at guys on the Raptors like Norman and Fred, and I think a lot of them seems to think that they didn't really have their hearts in it to play. So I guess we'll see how things pan out in the next few days. I know there's going to be some more talks going on, so it's definitely one of those bigger than basketball situations that have a lot of players have it on their mind, and they came there with wanting to see change. They seem to think that things aren't changing much at all, so they decided to take it a step further yesterday and today, as the Raptors game was canceled as well.
And they had Raptors game canceled, and they had talked about also Kyrie Irving, and who did sit out. Kyrie's a bit of a character himself, but
he originally had said that he wanted things boycotted a few months back, but obviously it was before the latest shooting that happened in Wisconsin. So. And
Dwight Howard also, I know, was talking about sitting out. LeBron didn't allow that. That's fine.
Well, actually, LeBron yesterday said that he was the one that was leading the boycott, and all the Clippers followed him. That's what was being reported, which is interesting considering the two LA teams, which seem to be having the biggest rivalry with the two that really leading the whole walkout thing. So I think a lot of them were a little bit discouraged at how the Bucks handled the situation because they did it very last minute.
Yeah, I heard about that. The Magic were still warming up, and
I think George Hill did it last minute with the Bucks, and the Bucks decided to stand by their teammate and head off with him. Then Orlando followed suit, but it didn't seem well organized. I mean, that's just
indecisiveness, maybe, or not.
A little bit indecisive what they're, and again, it obviously affects the Bucks more at home because obviously Kenosha's not
20 miles or something like that.
It's pretty close to Milwaukee, so and then everything that's been going on with the rioting and so forth. So. Yeah. A lot of different issues, and again, bigger than basketball, as I stated.
But getting back to basketball, so today's games are canceled. Games scheduled for tomorrow: Bucks Magic, Rockets Thunder, 2-2 series, and then the Lakers and the Blazers. Dave's gonna miss that one, unfortunately. Not sure. Bad timing. After game one, it looked like it was gonna at least be a series, right? And then after that, things have transpired. Didn't look too good. But I guess we'll start off with the Bucks and the Magic. Bucks leading the series 3-1. Same thing that the Magic did last year when they stole game one from the Raptors. Couldn't do much after. It looks like it's the same thing here.
Yeah, I expected that the Bucks would have finished them off yesterday, and then everything would have been set in the East as predicted. With pretty much, I guess Miami wasn't the fourth seed, but I think everyone thought that they would probably much the fourth or were a better team than Indiana. But I think the Magic got up early in that first game. Bucks had a little bit of a shock, but they've recovered since, and a lot of these games haven't been close. But I don't think that's going to go past. Again, I had it in 4. I think you had it in 4.
So, I think we both had a sweep,
yeah. So Orlando pretty much lasted an extra game. That'll be pretty much about it.
I think the best series, to be honest, has probably been Houston and OKC. Only because
competitive-wise.
Yeah, Houston went up big early. They won the first 2 games. At least the first game was a blowout, and then OKC came back and that series is tied up. But I couldn't be happier.
I think the Clippers the series was it could be definitely different if Porzingis had
injuries. That's the thing. The injuries and suspensions.
And Porzingis, and again, I handed it off to the Clippers. They had an amazing game 5, 65% shooting, third most points in NBA history. They weren't missing a shot, and the game was a blowout at halftime. It was over at halftime. But you look at the fact that Luka's in his own little mode and things like that, but he's also on a bum ankle. So he's playing.
And Marcus Moore stepping on his ankle. He's one of those guys that you typically say if he's on my team, I like him. If he's not, but that's just a dirty play.
It was a dirty.
Someone I think needed to step up on Dallas and actually. You don't want to throw a shot at someone, but a hard foul. When Tim Hardaway came back on Paul George, remember that hard foul?
Yeah.
And I guess, you know what, they did kind of clap back, and good for them, because you're not going to tolerate that BS.
I probably would have sent in Boban.
yeah.
I mean, he's the only one that
nobody's going to touch him.
Yeah. No one's going to really He's actually a pretty good character with that whole Shaq had him doing the whole Lurch impressions. I thought that was pretty. You rang. Well, again, at least he took it with a good sense of humor.
Yeah, he seems like a decent guy.
But yeah, even Kenny walked off the set yesterday, which is crazy. That was also that was actually, you know what? Like I give Kenny 100% credit on what he did, and that's what he wanted to do. The meme thing was that Charles started like sipping his thing when
Kermit the Frog?
No, it was literally like Charles Barkley, as Kenny was leaving, he just grabbed his cup and started sipping. And I don't know if like Charles was just nervous or didn't know what to do in the moment, but it was a little bit weird. And a lot of people did laugh at that. I'm like, I laughed at that looking back. I'm like, he just literally just grabbed a cup out of nowhere and started sipping on his cup. But while Kenny's doing his walk off, it was definitely an interesting situation, no doubt. But
I don't know.
Like the West Series have been a lot more competitive. I don't think anyone expected 3 sweeps in the East, but
maybe teams kind of pulling the trigger. But I want to get back to the Houston and OKC. Anything? How do you think this one finishes out? Who did you have originally picked? Houston?
I had OKC in 6.
We both did. That's
so
right.
I was a little bit like when they went down 2-9. Again, no Westbrook. They pulled one out in overtime. They've been getting. I mean, Houston again lives and dies by the 3. Right? They're shooting like 55, 57 3-pointers in like each game looks like they're topping the playoff record for threes attempted. So they're living and dying by the 3. When it's not going in, they're not winning the games. Simple as that.
And they're not going to go in forever. That's the other thing, right? Like they can't.
I mean, the first game, like you look at James shot over 50% from the field, which is a very big rarity. That almost never happens. He's a volume shooter. And yeah, they're definitely missing Westbrook out there. And I had a feeling that Westbrook was going to miss a lot more than just one game. Who knows if the extra 2 days might give him an extra opportunity to come back. That might help out the Rockets. But I don't know. To me, it's a 50-50 series at this point. And again, OKC's got the momentum winning the last 2.
Game time decision for tomorrow's game.
Yeah, and again, how much is he really going to be?
And then if he's good, if he does play, how good is he?
Because that's the thing with one of those situations. Because the games are every 2 days. If you have an injury that usually takes 2-3 weeks, you're out of an entire series. Yeah. Which it's different because most of the other games be spaced out. Sometimes you get 2-3 days off, or longer sometimes. And this time, because it's just almost on back-to-back days, you're pretty much not getting much off. So yeah, even like Gordon Hayward's gonna miss the entire Raptors series because he was gone for 4 weeks.
The ankle was bad.
And now that those 2 series finished off quickly, he won't be back for the Raptors series. Which gives the Raptors
and it helps the Raptors. I know you're not his biggest fan, but he's definitely an able body guy who can defend and do all that.
And they don't have the depth on the bench that puts Marcus Smart into the starting lineup. And then their bench you don't know what you're going to get from those guys.
Okay. Just finishing up the Houston thing, I still think I want OKC to come through. I think it's going to be tough depending on how Westbrook comes, but I'm still going to stick with OKC. I like what they've done so far. They won the last game in overtime. I ended up finishing the end of that. That was the only close game of the series. They won by 3 in overtime because Harden fouled out too.
Okay. Yeah. I'm getting a lot in the I think I think
game 3 they won by 12, 13 points in game 2, and 15 points. So none of them were close except the last one.
But I think. Okay. Oh yeah, but did the last one go to overtime or was it
the last one went to overtime?
Oh okay.
Yeah,
I was
game 4.
I was under the impression that was the last, so it wasn't game 3.
No.
Okay. Yeah,
game 3 was a blow for OKC, 119, 107.
Oh okay. I was under the impression it was a smaller thing. Okay.
So I'm gonna stick with them. That would set up a a second round matchup, I believe, with the Lakers, right? 4-5 matchup there. OKC and Houston.
No, I mean, so I'm under the impression because I thought they would reseed. So if Utah wins as a 6th seed, they would get the Lakers.
They never reseed. They're gonna do it this year.
I was under the impression that they were reseeding once. But I might be
because Utah's 6.
I might be getting me confused with
maybe hockey's
with the hockey situation. But I mean, I guess that would be the case. I mean, for the Lakers, I mean that's still probably. I don't know if the way that Mitchell's playing and Gobert.
Mitchell's been on a different level. We need to talk about that because him
and Jamal Murray have been really great that series. And Jamal Murray's definitely coming across as he's starting to get into that superstardom situation, which is great for him. He's always been a solid level player, but he's getting out.
I don't even think he's been an all-star yet.
Yeah, and he's dropping 50 in the bubble on a regular basis. So I think he's.
Nobody else has done anything for that team except Jokic. Like there's been nobody stepped up, and Porter hasn't been great.
The first game Porter was solid, but then he's kind of tailed off. They haven't been consistent, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean I'm still. I had that going.
That's been a good series too, and I was surprised he Denver went down so early and they were getting killed. But they've kind of come back. Mitchell, obviously, like I said, dominated. Clarkson's been good.
Well, they're gonna have to win 3 games in a row, so it's never going to be easy. So I know I had the Nuggets in 7, but I would say that happening is probably on the short end of the stick. But who knows? I mean, I think it's still a 50-50 series, though. Again, 3-1 usually. I don't know what the percentages are from teams coming back 3-1, but I know they're not great. Maybe 15% of that.
They're going to need something more from Paul Millsap, because I was looking at that. 4 points last game. The game before that, 16, okay, but like 8-5, 8. Like he's making a lot of money. He's 35. He's old, but still, you got to bring something more than that if you're going to win a series. I think they're counting on a little bit more than that. Okay, finish up with the Lakers then with Portland. What else is there to say? I'm heartbroken. I know our special correspondent is heartbroken about this.
Here's the thing. I think everybody panicked after the first game, and I looked at that first game, and I told you, and I didn't get much into the special correspondent. The Lakers lost that game by 7 points.
But it seemed like they were never really in it. They were. There was always I felt like they were making a run to make it close.
But here's the thing. They played absolutely terribly.
Yeah.
They shot 16% from 3, which is absolutely horrendous. Mm-hmm. And then you miss 11 free throws. And I'm like, okay, so they lost by 7. That's why I really wasn't worried, because they weren't going to have a performance like that again. And since then, it's pretty much been blowout central for the majority of it. Again, the Lakers have problems against teams that play stellar defense, and Portland might have the worst defense left in the bubble. So it is what it is. I didn't yes, could Dame drop 50, but again, has that been happening in the series? No. Dame's had his injuries. He's not even going to even play probably tomorrow. I don't even know if they'll let him back in the bubble. And who knows about how effective he'll be. So that series is done. Again, I had it in 6, and I thought that was going to be pretty solid, especially when they took game 1. But like I said, I mean, the Lakers started to up the level, started hitting some shots, and it is what it is. I mean, LeBron even had a 10-point game. They still won by 15.
Yeah, Portland wasn't hitting shots. Yeah, their defense is just so bad.
He shot 11 shots. Anthony Davis had a hot hand. It was easy pickings.
Yeah. Obviously, that series is done. I want to see the next one if they run into any kind of trouble with OKC or Houston. I don't think OKC will give them that much of a problem, even though I like OKC to win that. Houston, I think, will give anybody. When they're on, I think Houston won a team that can beat anybody when they're on and in a series. Let's finish up with the other LA team. So the Clippers had started off, they were 1-1, now then it was 2-2, now they're up 3-2. Mm-hmm. Paul George has been non-existent minus, like we said last game. Mm-hmm. You talked about the worst defense in the bubble. I think Dallas takes the cake there, especially with Porzingis out.
Yeah, I mean,
there's not many defenders there. Finney Smith, okay.
I wasn't thrilled with the. I have a couple of buddies that are Dallas fans. I thought what they did in that first half, I mean, when you're giving up 65% shooting, I get some teams are gonna have their day, but that was one hell of a day. And then let's be honest here. Luka's a solid player. His defensive skills aren't very good. I would say he's probably a below par defender. And when you don't have Porzingis and you don't have guys fearing his inside presence, as much as supposedly their offensive stats are better without Porzingis, their underlying stats according to the analytics, when you don't have that shot blocking presence in there, it takes away. It's not on guys' mind, and they have an easier time. So I think the last game, yes, they got. They won the last game based off a crazy Luka Doncic 3-pointer, which he's not even that great from 3. That was a great shot. I'll give the kid the credit in the world. But he did airball 3 of them. So again, he was probably very fortunate.
When it left his hand, though, I was watching the game. I had a feeling it was going in.
And again, the matchup. You got Reggie Jackson on him, and with 3 seconds left.
That's the Clippers' fault. I want to talk about that too. They had an opportunity for the switch. Paul George or Kawhi. Kawhi got caught in the screen, and even me playing, whatever it is, you don't want your point guard that's barely 6 feet tall to guard a 6'8" Luka Doncic.
But why is in a 3? You're up 1. It's a 3-second situation. Why is a guy that's ranked in the 270th in terms of defensive efficiency, and even in the game? Yeah, he's
terrible. He's terrible in general.
You could have put in Landry Shamet. You could have put in a lot of other guys. Well, you could have put in Green. Jermichael Green. You could have done so much else there. I don't understand that situation. Whatever.
Doc Rivers coaching there, not the first time, I guess, right?
I didn't get that whatsoever.
They were up 2. They're up 2.
No, they're up 1. They were up 1. I think they were up.
I thought they were down 2 in the 3. The 3 won the game for them.
I think they were up 1 because of a missed free throw. I think Tim Hardaway missed one of his 3. And
they won by 2 that game.
Yeah, then Lou Williams ended up hitting all 3 of his shots, which got it to 1, and that was the situation. So. Yeah, it was a bad defensive error. Great on Luka, but I mean, like I said, Porzingis, it's been really up the Porzingis situation. He doesn't get thrown out in the first game. They might be up 2-0. It could have been 3-1. And then he's missed the last couple of games, even though Luka's been on a bum ankle. Yeah, sometimes it's unfortunate situations, but obviously they have to do a better job. And mentioning like playoff P or pandemic P as he was been called, I don't know what the heck he's been doing. Like I actually did feel bad for him. I'm not gonna lie. After the
because he got killed.
No, not even that. I think it's because I was doing some of that roasting too. But it was after the series where he started, or sorry, after that last game where he said that he'd been dealing with some mental health stuff and he wasn't himself and again he was pretty like I give the guy credit for saying that to the national audience. Some of these guys are.
It's tough to kind of criticize anybody because someone says it and you kind of just have to step back and feel bad for what you said before, right?
The problem with him is that again
he has a track record.
He self-proclaimed himself playoff P. Nobody gave him that nickname. And once you do that, yeah, you're going to be the butt of jokes. I've seen like the little memes with Kawhi carrying him on his back and all this other funny, hilarious stuff. So yeah, he finally came to play, and then like Doc like kept him in there when the game was like a 30-point lead in the fourth quarter, just try to get him some rhythm.
Yeah.
So Doc didn't even take him out until like about 7 minutes left, and the game was already over. So I mean, again, it would have been great to see if Porzingis had been healthy when the situation was, but again, maybe the postponement might actually give him another day to get better from that situation. So maybe that'll help a couple teams in the situations. Whether it's Westbrook, whether it's Porzingis, and even Luka on his bad ankle, a couple of extra days of rest might help you out a little bit. Who knows?
That's true. It can't hurt. That's
can't
for
hurt,
sure.
Yeah.
Time to get into the Raptors. Okay, let's go. Boston, second round matchup. I think that this is, if there is a team, I said this before, that is the Raptors' kryptonite, I believe it's Boston, just because of how good they are in defense and how many big guys they have that are athletic. Tatum, Brown, Tice is a good defender. We talked about Hayward being out, but they have a lot of guys that can kind of multiple positions guard. Marcus Smart can guard a lot of guys 1 through 3, and he's a great defender. That's going to be the only question for me. The Raptors, like you said about the Lakers, against elite teams, obviously everybody's going to struggle against those type of defensive teams that are great, and that's really the only thing I'm worried about. What do you think?
I mean, this is going to be a real toss-up series in my opinion. I think the one thing that the Raptors have an advantage over is depth-wise, in terms of guys that are on the bench. They have a good now. Whether Kemba against Kyle, Jaylen Brown against Pascal or whoever's guarding Siakam. Siakam usually has a problem when those guys guard him, so that'll be an interesting situation there. And Fred and so I would say overall again the matchups of the three main players, especially with Hayward out, like that'll be I would put it this way. If the Raptors' three main players, and I'm talking, let's say, Siakam, Fred and Kyle, can basically equal out to what Tatum, Brown, and Kemba do, the Raptors win the series, and win the series probably handily. Simply in the fact because you look at again Marcus Smart, okay, you got Tyson. Should the Raptors get more production out of Marcus Saul and Ibaka than the Celtics get?
Yeah, because their front line's way better, right?
Yeah, and that's where the Raptors have a significant advantage. I would love to see again Mark in the last game start hitting some shots. He needs to get better offensively. He missed
to take more shots.
He missed some bunnies that they had me screaming at the TV because he's missing open layups and it's all over the map. So he needs to get a reasonable offensive game. Serge has been great. I know he's been dealing with an injury. The Raptors bench compared to the Celtics is much better. You got guys that Norm's.
I wanted to talk about Norm and say how great he's been. He's been probably their best player.
Norm's been able to get some stellar stuff off the bench. You got you can put in a guy Boucher doesn't really play all that often, but Matt Thomas.
Terrence when he's come in.
On this Jefferson, they're getting their points and Matty Ice and so forth. But that's where I think the Raptors have a significant advantage. It's depth wise, especially with Hayward out. Now again, we'll see what happens with Kyle's foot. And his ankle, but if the Raptors just equal out to what the Celtics produce, same kind of deal, the Raptors will win the series.
Especially with OG guarding one of those guys as well,
OG's
right?
Another guy that he can have some good offensive
Brown,
games.
he'll probably guard Brown or Tatum, whatever it needs.
It's a depth situation there.
More chess pieces.
Yeah, so the Raptors have the depth and they should win the series, but I'm thinking it's going to go the distance either way, but
yeah.
Like I said, it's definitely going to be a tough series. And again, if this is what I told you earlier, this to me was always going to be the Raptors' situation was I always thought that they would beat the first opponent they had, whether it was the Magic or the Nets. I actually thought they handled the Nets minus the second game. They handled them
Easily.
handily.
Shout out to myself on that one.
Yeah, again, after the second one, they looked a little suspicious.
I was worried too because they were like up. They were down. I think like 15 at one point or something.
So I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be their game.
They fought back.
But the last two were just two were just blowouts pretty much for them. I never game 3. I don't think they ever were. After they got a 9-10 point lead, and the game was never close. Yeah. So again, it's going to be a different animal. They have to again get tough inside, and they have to play their defense. If the Raptors play their defense the way they can, they'll definitely give the Celtics some headaches, and they should win the series. But then after that, probably in a Milwaukee, Miami situation, who knows? But this to me was always going to be their challenge, was to get past the second round, because there are some solid teams. Again,
you think tougher than to get to their opponent in the next round?
I mean, they really. I guess if you look at the situation, do the Celtics have a guy that's on Giannis's level? No. Do they overall? Do the Bucks have more depth? Overall, or more star talent? I don't know. I mean, Middleton, you can go, but overall, the Bucks have a better team in terms of depth.
They're built better.
Built better because of the depth they have. While again, the Raptors got to contain a few guys. Again, it's one of those situations where, the Raptors struggled minus Kawhi for those first couple of games last year against teams that are sort of built like the Celtics in terms of, the 76ers have Embiid, who the Celtics don't really have a very good big man. I don't know what they're going to get from Cantor either. I guess he's the guy that comes off the bench.
He's going to get eaten alive, but yeah.
There's that situation. So they've dealt with guys like Simmons and then so they've had a situation, but it's going to be interesting how they contend. And guys are going to have to hit their shots. Like they're going to get their open looks, hit their shots, and they should be fine. Play that star level defense. They should be absolutely fine. I like the matchups that they have in certain situations. I think they're going to have to look more inside. I think Serge should have a field day for the most part, but. I mean, Tice is again a foul machine too. He gets fouled. He falls
exactly.
out of the quite a lot.
And with those guys bringing Tice out, I was gonna say shooting a 3, talking about Gasol, talking about Serge. I think that's gonna help the Raptors attacking as well because that's really the only guy they have that's like a big, and he's an undersized big. Yeah. And if you're gonna have to drag him out, that just opens the lane to go inside. I think that the Raptors are really even guys like Fred who would run into a tree like him and have to kind of alter their shot. That's, I think, the Raptors' best chance to make sure that you can get your bigs distributing and shooting the 3. And I think if they can do that, and we're going to see Marcus will actually hit shots and take shots willingly. We don't see that often. That to me is how you win the series.
Yeah, I think that's their key. And like I said, if they get similar production from the 3 main components to the other 3, they should win out just based off of depth scoring. And again, they're the bench.
We got to see if Kyle's also available, right?
Bench scored what?
100. It was 100 the first time or whatever it was. Insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But you'd score 150 for sure. I don't know if Kyle's going to go game 1. He had an injury too, and what's his percentage? And we talked about Westbrook. You think he's going to be like the Kyle that we know?
Well, here's the thing. Like Kyle, again, I mean, you know me. I'm not the biggest Kyle guy in the world. I'll give him credit that he, at the end of the day, he brings some level of toughness and defense that they're definitely going to need. Mm-hmm. I haven't been thoroughly impressed with his shooting ever since game 1 with the Lakers. He had a solid first one, and then he's kind of tailed off. Yep. And then Fred's really taken the reins of the offensive. And man's going to get paid.
But we talked about this, Kate. Let's come back.
Yeah, it's good, but it's getting to a point like he's gonna get paid, and I don't know. Like I've always been on the train that Fred might not be worth that max contract, but I'm starting to.
We're gonna come back because I want to do that. Yeah, no, I know. But yeah, if Kyle doesn't go, I think like the 2 guys to go for. You talked about Kyle, Fred, and Siakam. So if Kyle's out, Norm's been killing it. I think that he's probably been their most consistent guy. I always love he's the one guy that goes at the rim relentlessly, and I love that. OG is the guy that I think might have a big series in this one. Because not being focused on, ready to just jump out, hit some shots, attack the rim, maybe grab the rebound, go back up. But he's a guy that another key to the series is his defense on probably Tatum because he's their best player. You can let Brown do what he wants because he's a more complete player, but Tatum offensively is on a different level. And I think that if Mark, 2 keys to series, if Mark and Serge can hit 3s, bring Tice out. And I think if OG has just a good series guarding, because the defense should be there all the time. Offense will come and go. If he guards Tatum well, Raptors and I don't know what I'm gonna say, but Raptors and let's go 6. I'll say 6. Raptors and 6.
I'm gonna go 7. The one thing I am concerned about is that the only loss in the bubble did come to the
Celtics
on that Friday night where they shot horribly and the game was over early. So hopefully that doesn't get in their heads too much. I mean, I think at that point they pretty much had that second seed wrapped up. They knew that the situation was pretty much done for.
Still not a good look to get smacked
still
like
not
that.
Not a good look in terms of that. I mean, they did fight back a little bit, and I mean they were due for a bad game.
Maybe Kyle's not playing.
Yeah, maybe Kyle's not playing. That's it. He's down. He's down.
That might be a sign.
OG,
we need you.
And I think he landed on his ankle.
Oh my God.
But yeah, you know what? Like I said, like Kyle, like in the extra days, I think he'll be all right. Like I said, he just needs to shoot the ball consistently. And again, if other guys are having a hot hand, like this is really the series that I see what Siakam's really made of. Because I think the last series, I mean, he had no matchup issues at all because he was just having his way. But I mean, this is basically to see where Pascal Siakam.
Let's talk about that. And I said this before. Pascal's been great against teams that are, let's say, like non-playoff teams or teams that are not elite. And like we talked about the Lakers and the Raptors, any team will struggle with elite defending. I want to see what Pascal does this series because even last year, obviously, Golden State had some big games, but you're worried about Kawhi. You're worried about Fred hitting open shots. You're getting a one-on-one matchup with Kevon Looney or something like that in the finals, right? I want to see when he's going up against Jaylen Brown, when he's going up against Tice, him bring it and him attack these guys and not settle for bad jump shots. Because that's not really his game. He can hit the shots, sure, but as a big guy, even as a guard, you want to attack to set up the jump shot.
Yeah.
And I want to see if he can do that.
I think that's what's been a lot of their. If it does frustrate me a lot sometimes with the Raptors and specifically, it is specifically with Kyle. I'm not gonna lie on that, but they don't use the shot clock very wisely at times. Let's be real. Again, it's just basketball IQ. Is that literally when you're like I've seen guys try to dribble through 5 guys. Like it doesn't make a lot of sense. Going just running up the court, shooting up a shot when there's nobody in the front court. Like there's no chance of a rebound. There's no second chance opportunities whatsoever, and it's just not a smart basketball IQ at times, and that really puzzles me with some of them because I'm thinking like, what the hell are you doing? Like,
wasting a shot.
You're wasting a shot. Like if it goes in, maybe you'll be applauded. Whatever, but like you're really like, and again, then there's a whole thing with the referees and get into that kind of situations. But like I said, it'll be a tough series. I think it'll go back and forth. You just got to make sure that you're doing what you need to do. OG, like again, I've been telling you,
another guy, yeah.
His offensive game is starting to show some signs. Not maybe too. I mean, some guys are
not the shot creation.
Some guys on the internet are just, or not on the internet. Like some of my legitimately sports writers are thinking that he's going to be an all-star next year. I don't know about that because of his offensive game, but all we really need for him really to do is chip in with a
14, 15, even 15 points.
Even that, or even 8 to 10 and play some solid defense on Tatum, and I think I'd take that at the end of the day. If you can average 10 in the series, then I think that'd be perfectly fine. But yeah, his defense is going to be the big thing. And
that's usually there.
And I think the Celtics, I was surprised that they swept the Sixers, but I mean, we're going to get into that as well. But like, I was impressed that, again, they still got owned by Embiid, but they really did do a good job on other guys. And I mean, I think Horford and Harris had horrible series, but I was stunned that was a sweep.
Before we get into the Sixers and that mess of the series, I want to talk quickly about Fred. Fred and OG both free agents this year, and we talked about it a little bit last time.
OG's an RFA though, right?
Yeah, he should be restricted. Fred, because he wasn't drafted, will be unrestricted. What do you do if you're the Raptors? Do you, Max, are you waiting? Do you hope wishful thinking that you're going to get Giannis and possibly not pay your own guys, or do you want to let him walk?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I think depending on what OG ends up getting offered as a restricted free agent, obviously, and I think that he'll take
he'll get $70 million.
I think he'll get a reasonable deal on kind of like what Norm got and a lot of those kind of.
He's gonna get way more than that.
You think so?
Yeah, I think that I was thinking more so like what Buddy Hield and Jaylen Brown both got like $70-80 million. Now I don't know if he'll get 80, but I would not be surprised if he gets 60.
But see, here's the thing. I think Buddy and Jaylen had at that point. It was like OG was injured the majority of last year. I think he's not at that. He's not at those type of levels right now.
You don't think anybody will offer him $15 million a year?
I think 15. I mean, what did
so
Fred
like 45?
Fred got what, 12? Sorry, not Fred.
Fred got 224. Norm got 4 for 40, but that was like 4 years, almost 4 years ago.
Yeah, I would say that you could probably give him $15 million, and I'd be okay with that. But like, I mean, depending on what people offer, I mean, I think Fred's a loyal guy. I think Fred's a guy that the Raptors took a chance on him. when
I
he's
think so
undrafted.
too, but I don't know if the Raptors, if he gets a max, let's say it's not a max.
Kyle's gone, so
That's what I was
going
gonna
to future
get.
at point
Yeah,
guard.
yeah.
So Kyle's gone after next year. I think next year is his last year. Who knows if they'll even they might trade him with that expiring contract. It is what it is, and we have to cut the grips. And I think a lot of people need to realize this. I mean, we called for it a couple of years ago, and then they did the whole Kawhi thing. They again, a lot of those guys are old. Like they're not going to be around for much longer.
Who?
You're looking at Kyle.
Yep.
You're looking at
Serge and Mark, both free agents.
Serge and Mark are likely not going to be. So a lot of those key pieces are going to be gone.
You got to think probably Serge comes back on a 1 or 2 year deal. I would think.
Well, like I said,
he wants to be back as
depending
well.
on what the money is and so forth. And again, I'd take him on a reasonable deal. But again, the team's going to get older. You're going to have to retool the team, and
you'll save $33 million on Mark as well.
If you want to ask me right now, like if I had to, even with the age thing, I think there's signs that Fred's surpassing Kyle.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it sounds crazy. This year, I think the finals, when people started seeing it, even non-Raptors fans, I've been calling for it for a while, and I told you guys before, I thought that Fred was the next Kyle. The way they play the game, the size, the shot, the taking charges sometimes, the tough defense. A little bit smaller.
I think Kyle's better at taking charges. But I think Fred's a better shooter.
He
has that step back three that it looks like it knocks guys down, and guys should really have a book on that.
A lot of guys have done it,
and they still can't do it. So I mean, I think he's a likable guy. I got no problem. I thought the thing with his kids was awesome, and I have no problem paying him. But again, here's the thing: we have to be realistic. Is Giannis going to come here? Like there's that hopes and whatever, but. Who the heck knows? I think they would still have enough money to bring him in and have an opportunity at it. But I'm sure Masai's got a pretty good read. Masai's not an idiot. He has a pretty good read on the situation. So he's not going to put the future on the team on the hopes of signing Giannis. Yeah. Because here's the thing: if you go cupboard bare, why is Giannis going to sign here knowing he's going to have the same problems that he had in Milwaukee and even have a worse team? That doesn't make any sense. He'd want Fred around. He'd want solid pieces so that he has backup. And I mean, that's the way it should be. I mean, he's not going to go to the Knicks. He's not going to do any of this garbage.
He's going to win.
I can see him doing some crazy Golden State thing. Who the heck knows? But
Lakers, who knows? But anyways, last question about this before we wrap it up. If you had to give the max, and let's say it's last year, would you rather give it to Pascal or to Fred?
If I had to give the
one of the two, or even let's say whatever. Let's just say a max to use the term easily. Because someone should. Pascal had suitors for the max. He stayed here. Fred will get it.
I think Fred's.
I don't think this was a question last year, by the way.
I think Fred's starting to reach his caps.
Yeah.
I still think that Pascal's got another tier in it.
You think so?
I think so. I think Pascal with his continued progression. It's a tough question. Like I said, I'll give Pascal credit. Well, he's a starter in the All-Star game. He's come a heck of a long way. And just his tools, his size, his physicality. I would probably give it to Pascal, and Fred would be just a slight bit lower. But even that being even a conversation is crazy.
That's what I'm saying.
Considering the fact that we had the situation on who we were going to pay, Fred or DeLon Wright a couple of years
ago. That's what I was going to say. He was a third point guard on the team.
And now look at the situation where DeLon's a decent player, but he's not on Fred's level these days. That's for sure. So give the guy credit. He had his struggles, but when he's hitting the shots, and you just like watching the guy play basketball because that shot smooth.
Yeah.
Again.
He brings it every game.
He's the Toronto Drake.
He is. He's a Toronto man.
He's the Toronto man.
Okay, so let's wrap up that. You had to make your prediction on the series.
I was gonna have
7
Raptors in 7. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it'll go the entire way. Which again, I think that's gonna be it's a toss up. I'm a little scared of the series. I'm not gonna deny it. I think this is one of those situations where I think it could end up rough, but it really depends on how they come out.
I think if the Raptors win this series, the Eastern Conference Final is an easier series, regardless whether it's. And to be I sounded crazy as I said last time. I think Boston and Miami are the toughest matchup they have in the East, just based on pieces, matchups. The Bucks, I think that the Raptors win. I don't want to say it's a lock, but I'm more confident. I'm more confident of them this year than I was last year before Game 1 had started.
It all depends. The biggest factor is what happens, how they deal with Giannis and defensive player of the year and all that stuff. He's
shout out to Nick Nurse, by the way, for officially winning Coach of the Year. And I was going to say, I think that the Raptors definitely have the coaching advantage. They had it last year, they have it this year. And I think that his creativity defending and defending Giannis and throwing different bodies at him. I think OG would be a capable guy this year. I don't know if Pascal would be as good, but that's another guy you could throw at him with some size.
It would have to be OG, and that's the situation, right? You know the Bucks. The Bucks lost a couple guys. They brought a couple guys in. Are they better than they were last year? I mean, you can debate that. You can debate that point. The Raptors lost Kawhi and Danny Green. Then you have OG stepping up, and then Fred's having a crazy resurgence. So, I think again, in these type of situations, you need a guy that's gonna like. That's the one thing I'm a little bit fearful of, because in these type of situations, who's gonna be the guy? Last year we knew who the guy was.
I think Fred's showing how clutch he is.
And that's the situation. Last year you had when the team's playing horribly, you jump on Kawhi's back and Kawhi gets you through.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to see how these guys again. The Nets thing, like you said, they're playing guys that were 9th, 10th men on a lot of teams. Harris left the bubble, like it was all over the map. This is really to see how tough and these guys are, or can they get to that next level when they do face the elite teams? Because again, as we know, the Nets.
That's the toughest thing.
And
then shout out to Karis LeVert for predicting a series win as well. He had a good series, but for predicting the win. We're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna come back. We're gonna finish up with the 76ers and where they go from here, because it's gonna be rough. We'll be back on the block. All right, welcome back to On the Block. We do have a new correspondent, but it's not Lamar. Okay, so I want to talk about the 76ers, and obviously they had got swept in the Celtics series. Joel Embiid couldn't really do much more. I guess he could have dropped 50 or whatever. It didn't look like they were going to win any game. Now, after this whole fiasco, who do you blame in this? Is this like strictly a management thing? Is this players didn't do enough? Personnel? GM Elton Brand?
Well, I'm gonna make a couple of bold statements here. One, first and foremost, I knew that Brett Brown was gonna get fired either way this year because it was definitely
unless they won a title.
I think I had them early on. I thought they were gonna make the NBA Finals because I thought the Horford situation would put them over the top. Hasn't been the case whatsoever. I was dead wrong on that. What I really want to state is I really have a belief that Joel Embiid is going to be a guy like Kyrie Irving and a guy like Kevin Love. And I think he's never going to be the main piece of a championship winner. I don't think he has the mentality for it. I don't think he has the leadership abilities for it. I think that's a problem. I think that I'm getting that vibe in these situations. We're going on with teammates and the way that he just, sulking all over the place. I don't see a guy that's going to be the main guy winning a chip. I see a guy that will be a second star to another bigger piece that might be able to get it done, but he's not going to be the main guy. I don't think he has that DNA. And whether, I know they're missing Ben Simmons, and we can go through that.
They might have won a few games, but they probably weren't going to win the series.
They probably would not have won the series. I think that maybe depending on who they get in as a coach, but the way that it's going on in Philly right now, are they going to trade him? Probably, likely not. But they're stuck. They're in a very similar situation where the Horford contract, I believe, is another 2 years. No one's going to take that. No one's going to take that deal.
Nobody.
Tobias Harris has been an albatross. You're stuck with that situation because I don't think anyone's taking that either. And what are you going to do there? Okay, sure.